Hey gang, this is Chef's Pantry. We're going to be doing a video from Thomas Keller's Ad Hoc. It's called Dinner for Dad, and it has 4 different parts. We're going to make BBQ chicken with mashed potatoes, smothered collard greens, and a really easy, simple strawberry shortcake. So for the chicken, I just use dark meat. You want to season the outsides of all your chickens pretty heavily with salt, and it's just going to sit like this for about an hour. While you're waiting for the chicken to season, you want to go ahead and start your grill. So we use charcoal, but you can also do this on a gas grill. Once your grill's hot, we had our charcoals going really nice. Before you add your chicken to the grill, you want to make sure you wash off all the excess salt. We put the grates back on, heat it up, and then we put the chicken down. After a few minutes over the direct heat, we just flip the chicken. We tried to get color on one side, and then we moved it over to the cooler side of the grill. Once all the chicken are gonna get flipped, we're gonna close the lid again, and we're gonna keep cooking. After the second flip, you can go ahead and start just like painting on barbecue sauce. And anytime you check your chicken, you just wanna hit it with a little bit of nice barbecue sauce. After about 7 to 12 minutes of just rotating and lathering in barbecue sauce, it should be ready to serve right here. For the mashed potatoes, we're just going to heat up 3/4 cup of half and half with about 4 ounces of unsalted butter, and this will season the mashed potatoes. Once everything's hot and the butter is melted, you can turn the heat off of the cream. Chef wants us to boil the potatoes whole, skins on. Once you have that filled up with water, add a little bit of salt and bring it up to a boil. And you just want to cook your potatoes through. Once they're cooked through, you want to strain them off the colander, and then Chef wants you to, while they're hot, peel them by hand. So I would suggest wearing a few layers of plastic gloves for this, or even just using a towel, because this is kind of tedious and it takes a while. But once all the skin's off your potatoes, you want to get a ricer and mill them through the potato ricer, and this is the best way to get the texture of the mashed potatoes to be really nice. And the potatoes should come out of the ricer, and they'll be nice and fluffy. Once you have all the potatoes milled, you can go ahead and start to add your melted butter and half. And at this point too, if you want to add a handful of salt, that would be a good idea. Now when I'm mixing mashed potatoes, I'm trying to just incorporate all the ingredients without moving them as much as possible. So I like to kind of like use a rubber spatula to cut the liquid into the potatoes, and then I'll just kind of fold it over like that. And trying to work the mashed potatoes as little as possible because they get gluteny if you overwork them, but these mashed potatoes came out great. So now I'm just going from the bowl to the pot, and I'm just changing it because I want to keep the mashed potatoes warm on the stove. That way when everything's ready, they'll be nice and hot and delicious. Okay, so now we have to take care to prepare the greens. You want to separate the leaves from the stems. You want as little of stem as possible. People usually don't like stems mixed in with their leaves. And once you get all the stems and leaves separated, under some running water, you can wash everything, and then this is a good time to kind of tear up the leaves to make them into smaller pieces, and this will just make it cook evenly. And once everything's washed, you can just give it a really good shake dry and transfer it to a bowl. Now you want to preheat your oven to 325. Put a pan on the stove and get a little bit of oil in there, and you want to get your 1 pound of cubed bacon and start cooking it. And as the fat starts to render, you'll see the bacon pieces get nice and crispy like this. And once the bacon pieces are fully cooked, you should actually take them out of the pan now, and we'll add them back in later. So now that you just have your bacon fat, you want to go ahead and add about 4 ounces of butter, and then you can add your greens. Be careful if your greens aren't dried really properly, they can start to pop like that, and that's just it makes things messy and just a little bit dangerous, so just be mindful of that. You want your leaves as dry as possible. You want to add the leaves in batches, and then sweat them down gradually. I did 3 batches, so I added about a good handful, sweated it down, added another good handful, sweated it down, and I did that 3 times until all the leaves were added to the pan. So this is what it looks like. These are all the greens completely sweated down. with just butter, bacon fat, and you want to season it with a good amount of salt. Once you stir that salt in, you want to add it to the oven. You can leave it covered or uncovered, and it should cook for about 45 minutes. After about 45 minutes, the greens are going to lose all their nice color, but they're going to be cooked down and nice and sweated like this. You can go ahead and leave them in the oven with it off until you're ready to serve. So these are all of our savory parts of this meal ready to serve: the greens, the mashed potatoes, and the chicken. For dessert, Chef has us making a strawberry shortcake, so you want to go ahead and wash your strawberries, and then once they're washed, cut the tops off, and then you want to cut them into quarters. So the strawberries are washed and cut, so now we want to season them. We have 2 tablespoons of Grand Marnier that we're going to mix in there, and I used about 2 or 3 very heavy handfuls of sugar. The recipe does not give a specified amount of sugar. If you don't want to add the Grand Marnier, it's optional, but this is called maceration, and we're going to macerate the strawberries for about a good 1 or 2 hours. You just mix all those ingredients together, and you can let them sit out either in your fridge or at room temperature. Now Chef wants us to make whipped cream by hand, which is actually one of my favorite things to do. So what you're going to need is to get 2 metal bowls, one with ice, and then pour the cream into the other and just whisk the cream until the ribbons start to form. It takes a few minutes and it's a little arduous, but the final product is delicious. We kept our whipped cream savory, but you can add a little confectioner sugar to sweeten it up if you want. Whipped cream should look like this. When it's ready, it should take about 5 minutes to whip by hand. If you don't want to whip up by hand and you have a KitchenAid mixer, you can go ahead and use that instead. We had the shortcake that we bought from the store, and now we have the macerated strawberries, and they can just go on top with a heavy dollop of the whipped cream, and that is the strawberry shortcake dessert. So those are all the components for Dinner for Dad, the first recipe out of Ad Hoc by Thomas Keller. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you try any of these recipes for yourself at your house. Y'all have a good day. Take it easy.